Well, it's not your game. You didn't make the rules, so everything comes hard. And as long as you're signed to a contract, you're going to take a minority share of the winnings. A select few of us will do well. The majority will not.
The tradition of great performers from Sammy Davis Jr. to James Brown to Jackie Wilson to Fred Astaire, Gene Kelly. The story is usually the same though, you know, these guys work really hard at their craft, but the story ends the same. They usually are broken, torn, and usually just sad, and the story is very sad in the end.
It's a system that was created many years ago that they're not changing. They don't give a fuck about you, me, him, or the other. Michael Jackson wasn't even making dollars off of his albums. Look this shit up.
Who takes that? The record label?
The record label, it's called points and percentages and royalties and shit that you get for the record. So, for example, if they were selling Michael Jackson record Thriller for $9.99, right? And that shit sold the most records ever. He made a lot of money, but what you think the record labels made? They made all the fucking money.
Because there's a bunch of devil workers in Hollywood. And there's a lot of black folks too. And they be throwing up them signs, you see them, this, that, all of them. Watch the rappers, watch them folks. It's scary. It's very scary. That devil is real.
Well, what is this?
Oh, the devil in this mess, yeah.
Because I closed this up. I thought this was rock on.
Be careful. No, the goat, be careful.
And this machine around us, this so-called music industry, is such a demonic thing. It sacrifices people's lives and their essences.
Angela Brown, also known as Angie Stone, was born on December 18, 1961 in Columbia, South Carolina, to her mother, Iona Brown, and her father, Bobby Williams. Angie was their only child, and she came from a working-class family. Her dad worked as a taxi cab driver, a construction worker, and even a lawyer's assistant, and her mother worked at a local hospital as a nurse. Angie stated that she remembers as a child her father always telling her, if it's something that you want in this life, you have to go get it yourself, because nobody's gonna hand you anything in this world. As well as her mother telling her that she could reach any dream that she put her mind to, as long as she was willing to put in the work and persevere. Her mom described her as a busy child. She was involved in every sport and every activity that she could be a part of at school. But Angie's first love was music. Her parents were constantly playing it in the house, and she was infatuated by some of the greatest artists of all time. People such as Aretha Franklin, Curtis Mayfield, and Marvin Gaye. Her dad was a part of a gospel quartet, and every other weekend they would rehearse at their home. Watching her dad perform was like music school for Angie. It's where she learned about harmony, she learned about the blues, it's where she learned how to sing. At only 6 years old, she was telling her best friend Beverly that one day she was gonna grow up to be a famous singer. And according to her friend, she already had the vocal abilities of a grown woman as a child. The first song that she ever performed in front of an audience was at church, and it was called The Harvest is Plentiful. And after that performance, Angie knew that she belonged on stage. She would join every choir that she could be a part of, including her parents' home church.
Angie would get on every choir. She would get on the school choir, and then she sang on choir at church. The first solo that I sang is called The Harvest is Plentiful. The harvest is plentiful, but the laborers are few.
She attended C.A. Johnson High School in Columbia, where she continued to split her time between student activities and music. This was the 1970s, the same time that hip-hop was really starting to take off, coming out of New York City, spreading across the country, and it gave Angie the idea of starting her own hip-hop group. So she recruited two fellow cheerleaders, Blondie Chisholm and Cheryl Cook, and they called themselves The Sequence, due to the fact that everything about the trio was in sequence. Their heights were 5'1", 5'2", and 5'3". Their names were ABC, Angie, Blondie, and Cheryl. and their birthdays were October, November, and December. The three teenagers bonded over their visions of having more in life and one day becoming stars. They started writing songs together and performing at skating rinks around Columbia, gaining a local following. Blondie was working at a grocery store, and her manager promised her concert tickets for her 20th birthday. It was to see the Sugar Hill Gang, who was going to be coming to town. After telling Angie and Cheryl, they felt like this could be their opportunity to get into the music industry. But when they arrived at the event, the manager wasn't there. There were no concert tickets and no way into the venue. But the manager of the Sugar Hill Gang happened to be outside. He laid eyes on Angie and he liked what he saw. He approached her and struck up a conversation, asking her did she want to come inside. She said yeah, but under one condition. I get to bring my two friends in as well. And this is how they got their chance to audition in front of the CEO of Sugar Hill Records, Sylvia Robinson. She loved what she heard from Sequence and told them that she wanted to sign them to her Sugar Hill Records and make them into stars, just like she did for the Sugar Hill Gang. The girls couldn't believe what they were hearing, but it was real, and less than a week later, they were all headed to New York City to be with Sylvia Robinson and Sugar Hill Records, as well as promoting their new single, Funk You Up. One day, Angie was on a three-way call with Blondie and Cheryl when she heard their song come over the radio. They couldn't believe what they were hearing and all began to scream with excitement and joy.
But we have forgotten the one element that opened the doors for females everywhere. My group, The Sequence, Angie B, Blondie, and Cheryl the Pearl. We were trailblazers.
Sylvia came down and she introduced herself and she said, let me hear what you got. Let me hear it. Let me hear it. So we just started singing. We're gonna funk you right on up. I said, get up, 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 sit back. She was like, ah. So she just said, you know what, I'm gonna make you girls stars. And I couldn't believe that. I'm like, let me clean my ears out. I know good and well. I didn't hear what I just thought I heard.
We had a song called Funk You Up. Dr. Dre did it called Keep Your Heads Ringing. Erica did it with Love of My Life. Bruno Mars did it with Uptown Funk. Well, that is the derivative of the song we wrote, which is the first original rap record by a female group. And we were from the South.
Released in December of 1979, it was a historic song. They became the first female rap group with a charting single, reaching number 15 on the Black Singles charts. Before there was a JJ Fad, a Salt and Pepper, or a TLC, there was Sequence. They went on a nationwide tour with other artists from Sugar Hill Records, including Funky Four plus one more. Angie would fall in love with a member of the Funky Four named Rodney Stone, known back then as Little Rodney C. Angie credits him as the person who started to teach her about the music industry and things that she needed to know. And by 1984, the two were getting married in anticipation for their new baby girl that was on the way. After giving birth to her daughter, money became even more of a priority for Angie. Her and her fellow group members of Sequence began to look into their contracts with Sugar Hill Records. They came to the realization that they were getting cheated out of a lot of money and that they had even signed away their publishing, even though every song that they recorded while on Sugar Hill Records was written by them, as well as Sylvia Robinson getting money from them in three ways: as the owner, the manager, and as the producer. With almost no money coming in, Angie had to find a way to provide for her new daughter. She wanted to rely on her husband, Little Rodney C., but according to him, he was still focused on his own career, trying to get on and become a star. He said that he was too young and immature at the time to be a good husband or a good dad, and eventually Angie was forced to go on welfare in order to get food for her daughter. And after her husband, Little Rodney C., started to develop a serious drug problem, she decided that it was time for a divorce. She would also take her daughter Diamond down to South Carolina to live with her parents, so she could focus on her career, even though it was an extremely difficult and emotional decision.
I might have indirectly looked at it as, an obstacle, because right now I'm trying to get on. I want to be famous. I want to be successful. I don't want to have babies right now, but I have one. I got a wife too.
They had a thing called one-shot deal at the welfare department. and I got food stamps, and I got public assistance. Angie B, being recognized on the line. She was a good mother, but it was only so much that she could do. So we took Diamond at the age of 6 months, and we raised her. That was so that Angie could work on her future.
It hurt her to send me back because I know she really tried her best.
After fulfilling their terrible contracts with Sugar Hill Records in 1985, it was time for Sequence to renegotiate, but they all refused, even after Sylvia Robinson told them that they would be blackballed from the music industry. This would cause Sequence to disband, and they all went their separate ways. Angie would continue to pursue her career in music and began to work at Kiss FM radio in New York City. Throughout the late 80s, she managed to get by singing commercial jingles, singing as a backup singer, as well as playing saxophone for rock star Lenny Kravitz on his Let Love Rule tour. Angie made a promise to herself that if she didn't see true success in the music industry by the time she was 30, she was gonna quit, go back home to South Carolina and raise her daughter. But just days before her 30th birthday, she got a call from MCA Records offering her a deal to write songs for other artists that came with a $25,000 advance. She took that money and invested in her career buying studio time. This is when she would meet musicians David Bright and Willie Bruno Jr. They loved the way that Angie wrote songs and asked her could she write some for them. Angie said that initially it was just a way for her to get free studio time and have access to a team of musicians, but eventually it would transform into something more. They started a hip-hop and R&B group called It's Us, but the name would later be changed to Vertical Hold. Their first album was released in 1993 called A Matter of Time, and it debuted at number 10 on the R&B charts, led by the hit single Seems Like You're Much Too Busy. But despite their initial success, Angie still wasn't happy. She had entered a relationship with one of the band members, David Bright. Their single Seems Like You're Much Too Busy was actually about him, how he spent all of his time in the studio, and how Angie felt alone in their relationship. But that wasn't the only thing that had Angie feeling down. She came to the realization that her record company believed in her vocal abilities, but they didn't believe in her looks. For the video Seems Like You're Much Too Busy, they refused to show Angie's full body, and would hide her in pitch black darkness where only her face could be seen. For the group's second album called Head First, Angie lost a substantial amount of weight, believing that the record company would promote her more if she had what they deemed was a more desirable look. But unfortunately, the album was a commercial failure that didn't have any hit singles, and soon after its release in 1995, the group broke up.
Two groups, two disbandments, and I'm aging. And at this point, I'm angry because I'm feeling like, wow, how and why is this happening to me? You know, I'm a hard worker. I put years into Vertical Hold, and I wanted to see something blossom.
But Angie was able to bounce right back after she became a feature vocalist for producers Jerry DeVoe and Charlie Moe, who had a group called DeVoe. In 1996, they released an album called DeVoe featuring Angie B. Stone, which some people credit as her first official solo album, but it was only released in Japan to very moderate success. But one of the songs on the album, called Every Day, made it to the soundtrack for the movie Money Talks starring Chris Tucker and Charlie Sheen. Arista was producing the soundtrack, and they liked what they heard so much from DeVoe that they wanted to sign them as a group. But Angie flat out said no, pointing out that she was only paid a few $100s for the project, and she was done being in bands and now wanted to be a solo artist, and this would cause a fallout between her and DeVoe. But Angie didn't care because her attention was focused elsewhere. It was focused on her boyfriend Michael Archer, also known as D'Angelo. After Angie signed with Jocelyn Cooper's Midnight Songs, she was paired together with D'Angelo to help him finish recording his 1995 album Brown Sugar. Jocelyn believed that Angie's talent and experience could help D'Angelo develop as an artist. D'Angelo was 20 years old at the time, and Angie was in her early 30s. But the connection that they shared in the studio went far beyond music, and Angie was head over heels in love with D'Angelo. Early on, Angie played the role of mentor, teaching D'Angelo about the music business and teaching him things about life. And after D'Angelo's debut album became a success, selling over 1 million copies, Angie thought it would be a win for the both of them. but she said she could slowly see a change happening in their relationship. When she met D'Angelo, he was extremely shy and secluded, but Angie built up his confidence and let him know that he was a star. But now he was coming into his own, and after the release of chart-topping singles Lady and Brown Sugar, his profile was on the rise. And with this newfound fame, he was also getting a lot of attention from his female fans, and this would cause a rift in his relationship with Angie. But despite the turmoil going on between them, they still had a child together and welcomed their son Michael Archer Jr. into the world in 1998. But unfortunately, even having a child together wouldn't be enough to save their union, because in the year 2000, D'Angelo dropped his album Voodoo that would catapult him into superstar status, especially after he dropped the video for his viral single How Does It Feel? Angie said that when her and D'Angelo first got together, nobody cared, but with his new popularity, their relationship is constantly under scrutiny. Magazines, radio stations, and fans alike would all say hurtful things about their relationship, like a man of D'Angelo's stature should be with a woman that looks more visually appealing, disrespecting Angie's appearance and her beauty. But she said that it wasn't just the media trying to cause a split in their relationship. She said that it was the record company, managers, and even family and friends. Angie revealed that when she would sing backup for him, or when they would go to award shows or concerts, they couldn't ride in the same vehicle because the record company wanted D'Angelo to appear as a single man in order to appeal to his female fans. The circumstances surrounding their relationship took a great toll on Angie's mental state and on her self-worth. So eventually her and D'Angelo went their separate ways, another love lost.
So when they hooked us up, it was to hook us up to write and to work and for me to help develop, with him, his craft. After I began to get the accolades, it turned into a love-hate relationship. I could have did this without her. It became angry. His pride as a man would not allow him to do that because he doesn't want to share the credit.
But Angie would bounce back from the devastation of losing her relationship with D'Angelo, and she would soon receive the solo success that she had been dreaming of ever since she was a little girl growing up in Columbia, South Carolina. Her demo tape landed in the hands of Arista A&R Peter Edge. He said that Angie reminded him of Betty Wright or Gladys Knight. He was impressed by what he heard, and he quickly took the demo to Clive Davis, the CEO of Arista Records, who would serve as a mentor to Angie. He was responsible for the careers of legends such as Aretha Franklin, Whitney Houston, and Phyllis Hyman. They immediately signed Angie to a contract and began work on her debut album Black Diamond, that she named in honor of her daughter Diamond Tiara. It spawned the hit single No More Rain in This Cloud that reached number 10 on the hip-hop and R&B charts. The song was inspired by the birth of her son, Michael, who helped her get over the heartbreak that she experienced in her relationship with D'Angelo. Her album reached gold status, and when Clive Davis left Arista in the early 2000s to start his own J Records, Angie went with him. She believed in Clive Davis as her mentor, and the success followed as well. Her second album, Mahogany Soul, also went gold, and it also included the hit song Brother, which reached number 3 on the Billboard charts. Angie said that she created it to uplift black men. The album also had one of Angie's most well-known singles, I Wish I Didn't Miss You. Angie finally had momentum in her career as a solo artist. Her first 2 albums were both hits.
It created a visibility for Angie, and she got fabulous reviews.
She wasn't like some 20-year-old starlet that was the new hype of the moment. She was kind of the underdog who got to have her well-deserved moment in the sun.
And when she released her third album, Stone Love, it debuted in the top 20 on the Billboard Top 200. And it had the single I Wanna Thank You featuring Snoop Dogg, which also became a top 5 hit on the charts. But Angie wasn't just focused on singing, she was building up her filmography as well. She made appearances on multiple TV shows such as Moesha, One-on-One, and Girlfriends, as well as multiple movies, like The Fight and Temptation starring Beyonce and Cuba Gooding Jr., and Ride Along starring Kevin Hart and Ice Cube. But unfortunately for Angie, the sound of R&B music was starting to change, and artists with soulful voices like hers were being phased out. She went to Clive Davis to present her 4th album, but she was told that they were having budget cuts at the label, so they didn't have the money to create her album, so they were going to change it into a greatest hits. But Angie knew that there was more to it, and that it was something much more nefarious going on in the background. She had already experienced Clive Davis playing favorites with certain artists. Angie's 3rd album, Stone Love, was initially called The Diary of a Soul Sister, but she said that Clive Davis told her that she had to change it because another artist was going to be using a similar title for their next album, The Diary of Alicia Keys. She would also learn that an artist she helped get signed to the label was playing a part in her slowly being pushed out. Her ex-boyfriend D'Angelo, when he was dropped from Virgin Records, he called Angie when he was at his lowest, and she pulled some strings and got him in touch with people that she knew at J Records in order to help him get a deal. But she would learn that his management did strike a deal with J Records under one condition: when D'Angelo came, Angie would leave. This made Angie very upset, and she asked to be released from the label. After leaving Clive Davis, she signed with Stax Records, where she was able to release her 4th album, The Art of Love and War. But unfortunately, this was the last time that Angie received commercial success. Her 2009 album, Unexpected, didn't do the numbers that Stax Records thought it would, which resulted in them releasing Angie. But by this time, she was established in the industry and had built up enough of a fan base to sustain her career even as an independent artist. So she never stopped making music and released an album as recently as 2023's Love Language. As the years passed, Angie began to do more interviews, speaking on the extraordinary history that she had not just in the R&B world, but in hip-hop as well, exposing that it was her group Sequence who were writing a lot of the material that were hits on Sugar Hill Records, but they never got paid for it. They were simply being used for their talents and discarded.
We were the little country bumpkins that they never wanted to talk about. So when you hear, let's dance, I know you got the feet, but let's dance. Come on, and get down. That's us. Keep it 100. Cheryl the Pearl was back there pushing a pencil at Sugar Hill, and everybody got work, but we were writing the hit songs for the Sugar Hill Gang. Rappers Reprise, which was a hip-hop record with the Sugar Hill Gang that we never got credit for.
Angie would make news headlines in early 2025 when she went on live and exposed the music industry. She accused Universal Music Group of stealing millions of dollars from her throughout the years. Numerous songs that she had written weren't properly registered, so she wasn't receiving her royalties, and it was all going to Universal. And after making these damning accusations, Angie talked about how she felt like she was in a fight against evil spirits, and how her and God was in a war against the devil. But she would eerily end her life by saying that she was scared because she didn't know what they might do to her for speaking the truth.
I wanted to share and other things I didn't want to share, but now I'm okay to reveal some things that is probably going to shock some people. It has been one heck of a ride. This last month, the enemy was trying to take me out. He was really trying to take me out. A lot of my publishing, a lot of my royalties, my mechanicals, they have all pretty much been stolen. But they have taken all the monies that were due to me. They have basically absorbed in that company. And even though there's several class action lawsuits, people that were working on my behalf never even registered the songs. All the songs that I've done, I'm only coming to find out they were not properly registered. But there are key people that have been driving the ships. And what they've been doing is improperly representing me, improperly stealing from me, taking things in their own hand, changing and switching lanes because they knew I didn't know that part. And even though they were taking care of themselves, they thought very little of taking care of me. And I know because I've seen it with my own eyes. So I'm just here to let you know, one way or the other, Universal music, you're going to have to give up my coins. And so what I'm doing now is whatever is necessary to make sure they pay me for the legacy of my life, for my children and my grandchildren. They're going to have to give me my money. I mean, it's ridiculous that someone has played with my life and my career for this long, for their own benefit. I mean, have you no conscience? There's a special place in hell, just like my girl Selena said, for people like that. I don't care what they think about me. I just want people to know that when you get in this industry, there are so many twists and turns. And even though you have the Almighty God with you, they still gonna try you. Because just because I believe in God don't mean they believe in God. They don't believe in God.
But just like other artists such as Prince and Michael Jackson, who openly spoke out against the evils of the music business, Angie would soon meet a very tragic end, because on March 1st, 2025 in Montgomery, Alabama, Angie and her band were traveling along Interstate 65 after she had just performed at a Mardi Gras concert in Mobile, Alabama. They were driving in a Mercedes-Benz Sprinter headed back to Atlanta, but somehow the driver lost control and the van flipped over on the highway. Then it was hit by a Freightliner Cascadia semi. Angie was pronounced dead at the scene, but miraculously everybody else that was in the van survived. And when the news began to circulate of her untimely death, most people found the timing very odd, because it was right after she made the accusations against the music industry and insinuated that she was in fear of her life.
Forgetting about the women like Angie Stone, who's been in the business all of these years. You're gonna forget about what she did, all of the people that she put on and helped. Y'all gotta forgive me because I'm angry at the way she was treated. But to think that this woman was in the business for all of these years, and there's a difference between performing because you want to and performing because you have to. All of those years, all of those songs, all of that money that was owed to her, where is it?
There were even comparisons of her death and that of Lisa Left Eye Lopez of TLC, who was known to be outspoken against the unfair business practices in the music industry, but tragically passed away on April 25th of 2022 while visiting Honduras. She was the only one to pass away in the accident. There were 7 other people who survived, similar to Angie Stone, who was with 9 people, but she was the only one who passed away. Angie Stone is a pioneer and a music legend who never got the respect and recognition that she deserved. But despite winning multiple awards and being nominated for 3 Grammys, for some reason the legacy of Angie Stone still seems unsung, and she was 63 years old when she passed away. Rest in peace, Queen.